Look, I get it. You just closed a major case. And things with your mother are complicated. And hey, you found the swordsman, and believe me, we are grateful and in no position to ask for a favor. But there's a killer taking us out one by one, so we need Cassandra Killjoy to get back to work. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. But if you hoard enough power over those who don't have it, inevitably you will cause an uprising. Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. I'm Erod and I'm the Blockbuster Buster, and as I am recording this, Disney has retired the Tron franchise indefinitely due to the colossal failure of Tron Ares. And I just need to publicly reiterate what many have said. The failure of Tron Ares has nothing to do with Tron as a franchise. Fans love Tron. Tron is awesome. Our issue is strictly with the casting and nothing else. It is my mission in this video to highlight the awesomeness of Tron by talking about the greatest installment of the franchise. And thus, we begin with a little backstory. In the mid-2000s, Disney began a very ambitious initiative to revive 1982's Tron as a full-fledged multimedia franchise, using a very similar model to the Star Wars prequels, or a movie would come out every 2 to 3 years, and seasons of an animated series would be released in between, in order to maintain interest and sell merch. And thus, work began on Tron Uprising, the first ever Tron animated series, and the first installment of the franchise to take place entirely in the grid. The show would be headed and created by Robot Boy director Charlie Bean, and would air exclusively on the Disney Channel. However, right before it premiered, it was moved to Disney XD, but I'll get to that in a moment. The number one question that I get about Tron Uprising is whether or not you need to watch the movies to enjoy it, and the answer is no. You really don't. Will watching the first 2 movies enhance your viewing experience? Sure, but they are not required viewing. You can enjoy the show thoroughly on its own, and I would even venture to say that it's a good jumping on point for the series. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin. The plot. Accessing archive data. Welcome to the grid, a digital realm crafted and constructed by our creator, Flynn. It has been many cycles since Flynn left the grid, leaving a copy of himself named Clue to continue the construction and expansion of the grid, and his greatest warrior, Tron, to protect it. But Clue has evolved and surpassed his initial programming, and now wants to gain full control of the grid and reshape it in his own image. Those who don't comply will be sent to the games, repurposed, or de-rest. Tron does his best to stop him, but he is betrayed and left for dead. More cycles pass, and Clue's occupation has now taken over 53% of the grid, with Argon City being their main objective. A young mechanic program named Beck begins committing acts of vandalism and sabotage to curtail the occupation's efforts. For this, he is targeted, pursued, and nearly de-rest. But fortunately for him, he is found and rescued by the dying Tron, who gives him the tools and the training to become the new Tron and begin the uprising. Cast and characters. My god, is the cast of this show stacked. So let's begin with the villains. Paige, played by Emmanuel Shrieky. Originally a medical program, Paige was a victim of a terrorist attack in which her facility was destroyed and all of her friends and colleagues were de-rest. Wanting revenge, Paige joins the occupation, but little does she know that it was the occupation itself who was behind the attack, and that she is being heavily manipulated, always straddling the fence between the occupation and the rebellion. Paige maintains a semi-flirtatious relationship with the very program that she is tasked to de-res.
What a waste. They usually don't last as long.
Pavel, played by Paul Rubens, the maniacal sadist of the occupation, often sent in when the situation calls for a chainsaw as opposed to to a scalpel. But the only thing that he loves more than causing pain and suffering is gaining power, an endeavor that he is more than willing to betray anyone to achieve, including his own superiors.
I might have brought a little help.
Tesla, played by Lance Henriksen. He is the Prince John of our story, the false king placed on the throne of Argon by Clue, an uncompromising, manipulative dictator who will do anything to hold on to his status and control.
You're no Tron. You're nothing.
And thus, we move on to our heroes. Zed, played by Nate Codry. Beck's bumbling best friend. Zed is the Jimmy Olsen or the Xander of the series, the delightful dork who can't seem to catch a break, but will never allow his misfortunes in life and love to make way for bad choices. Zed remains loyal and kind, no matter what.
What is it with you? Do you want to get de-rezzed?
What I want is to help my friend.
Mara, played by Mandy Moore. Yes, Mandy Moore is part of 2 major Disney franchises, so you can stick that factoid in your quiver. Mara is Beck's other best friend, and while she has a strong interest in this new renegade who is posing as Tron, her relationship with Beck is strictly platonic, and it stays that way throughout the whole series. More often than not, Mara represents the effects and consequences of Beck's actions as Tron, as even the best intentions can lead to unforeseen turmoil.
Abel is still gone because Tron or the Renegade or whatever he wants to call himself didn't come to his rescue. That's what makes him responsible, Zed.
Tron, played by Bruce Boxleitner. Yes, the one and only. Unfortunately, Bruce is the only one from Tron 1982 to reprise his role, as Flynn and Clue are not played by Jeff Bridges, but by Fred Tatasciore doing a bang-on impression of the dude. Also, Olivia Wilde guest stars in one episode as Cora, her character from Tron Legacy. But that's it. Those are the only 2 actors from the film franchise to reprise their roles in the animated series. And now, let's talk about our titular character. In this show, we meet an older, more gruff version of our hero. One who is grieving after being betrayed by all of his allies, and the very citizens he was programmed to protect. In Beck, Tron sees hope, a spark that he used to see in himself, a much-needed inspiration that propels him to continue his mission to protect and hopefully one day liberate the grid.
Good news, I'm healed. Bad news, I'm healed.
Beck, played by Elijah Wood. Look, I know that Elijah Wood has done 100 awesome things in his career already, so I'm telling you, without exaggeration or embellishment, that Tron Uprising is easily on the top 5 of that list. To me, Beck represents the evolution of the grid. He was originally only programmed to be a mechanic and nothing else, but he chose to fight and take a stand and protect others, something he seems to have a natural aptitude for, which proves that he is more than the sum of his programming, but more importantly, proving that Clue was wrong.
What I missed?
Season 1. While the movies provide a very straightforward allegory of the battle of good versus evil, Tron Uprising is a very intricately interwoven serialized epic that has shocking twists at almost every turn. The first quarter of the season deals extensively with Tron and Beck's relationship. While Tron needs Beck to continue the uprising, he doesn't actually trust him, as everyone who he has ever trusted has betrayed him. So as the season progresses, we see their partnership evolve from a mutually beneficial arrangement to a friendship to them becoming surrogate father and son. At first, the mission is clear: stop the occupation at all costs, but that proves to be far more complicated than initially perceived. Because while the occupation might be terribly corrupt, they do police the city of Argon, which is packed with criminals that are just as bad, if not worse. Furthermore, not everyone in the occupation is evil, which is repeatedly illustrated through Paige. Hell, there's an entire episode where she diverts from capturing a renegade to save a train full of programs. And occasionally, you do get a glimpse of her perspective shifting to Beck's point of view. But sadly, those moments are fleeting.
No! You're destroying the grid. You rain down chaos, and I won't rest until you're stopped.
One of my favorite elements of this show is that nothing is ever black or white. This show is not afraid to delve deeply into the gray, because actions, no matter how well intended, are not without their consequences. More often than not, Tron and Beck end up cleaning up the unforeseen repercussions brought about by their battles. One of my favorite examples of this is when Beck breaks into an occupation hangar and infects all of their tanks with a virus, effectively crippling them. Then, when he shows up to work the next day, the occupation shows up, brings in the crippled tanks, and demands that they are fixed by the end of the shift, or they will de-rest Beck's supervisor, who just so happens to be Mara.
I'm in charge, and I will get these tanks fixed. So if I were you, I would spend less time trying to avoid work and more time trying to not get sent to the games. Am I clear?
Yeah, it's not easy being a hero. In the end, after lots of battles and plenty of sacrifice, the occupation unveils their ultimate weapon, Recognizer Omega. So Tron plays the only card he has left to get them to back off. He surrenders to be repurposed, in hopes that Beck will infiltrate the Recognizer in time to save him, and together they can cripple the giant war machine. And not only does their incredibly risky mission succeed, but they end up inspiring a lot of programs to join the Uprising. But of course, just like everything else in this show, this doesn't come without consequence, as Beck and Tron's massive death blow to the occupation gets the attention of Clue. And so, the show ends with Clue heading into Argon City with his entire armada. And that's it. That's when the show stops, as technically, it was never canceled. It was dead on arrival. While initial reactions to the finished episodes were very, very positive, and a 3-season arc was planned, and at one point there was even talk about a straight-to-video animated feature, the survival of Tron Uprising was directly tied to the success of Tron Legacy. And while the movie did turn a profit, it was not a profit worthy of a multi-million-dollar franchise movie with multiple licensing and merchandising deals attached. So once the movie underperformed, they pretty much gave up on Tron Uprising. As originally, the show was supposed to premiere just 6 months after the release of Tron Legacy on the Disney Channel, when suddenly it was delayed, and then delayed again, until finally it premiered 2 years later on Disney XD. There it aired at completely random time slots and got little to no advertising, and to no one's surprise, incredibly low ratings. On May 9th, 2013, the show premiered in full on Netflix streaming, which is where most people discovered it. Here, it would go on to garner a ridiculously high amount of views, but then Disney had it removed a year later, which led many to believe that after seeing its amazing performance on Netflix, they had seen the value of the show and removed it because they had plans for a follow-up, but they didn't. Instead, they bought the very franchise whose success they tried to emulate with Tron. And that was that. But that doesn't change the fact that this show cultivated a very loyal fan base and is considered to be a hidden gem to this very day.
Final verdict.
It is impossible to compare Tron Uprising to the Tron movies, because the show's quality is so far beyond the movies that it's not even on the same planet, let alone the same universe. It would be like comparing a shopping cart to a hover car. Tron Uprising is one of the most compelling war epics I have ever seen. One that features real stakes, heart-wrenching drama, pulse-pounding action, and brilliant, well-developed characters. All of which is housed in a vibrant and stylized world you'll want to visit again and again. And by the 19th episode, you'll have no doubt in your mind that Tron lives. 10 points in the badassitude meter! Hit the club, don't forget to keep up with your disc, and give it a watch. Until next time, I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster.